Okay, I get it. If you see Clear Obscure Expedition 33 on the thumbnail and you're like, hold on, whoa. Is this some clickbait? This is not an Xbox game, but this is talking about Xbox cooking. And then you look at the title, Xbox finally cooking or newfound praise undeserved. Hear me out here, okay? Because we got a lot of things in relation to this game and other games that are not exclusive Xbox titles, but there's an Xbox element that has been very pillar in boosting these titles up and giving them an opportunity to even shine. So hear me out, because we can't ignore things like day and date and Game Pass when it comes to games like Clear Obscure or Atom Fall, which is one of my personal favorites right now, and so forth. That's in Game Pass right now over the last several months, or coming to Game Pass. We cannot ignore that even though those games are multi-plat, even the Xbox first party games, them being available in day and date means something to consumers. Okay. Now, a lot of people may say, well, yeah, I feel you, MM. And you know what? I'm with you. Even though Clear Obscure clearly is a multi-plat, and clearly the best place to play for all intents and purposes would be the PlayStation 5 Pro, if you have the Pro, because I believe Clear Obscure is going to be Pro enhanced, right? That being said, the reluctancy to say, you know what, all this stuff hitting Game Pass, the Oblivion remake, like stuff like this hitting all at once or all within a more suitable cadence within the last few months, why isn't Xbox getting any credit for that being day and date and Game Pass? Is this a case of the Xbox tax as far as recognition, or is the praise missing something and shooting over the moon? Let's talk about it, people. It's your boy, MM2K of Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage in here. MM2K Gaming back again with another episode of The Dosage. This is where we do our shorter videos talking about the latest and greatest in the video game sphere, excuse me. But before we get into that sphere, do us a huge favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when we're dropping these doses. All right. So let's get into it. Again, the aforementioned Clear Obscure Expedition Baba 33, whatever the hell that long name is, right? Great title. I love it. It's going to be the premiere. Oh, I love the prospects of this game. It's going to be the main title that we showcase here for this particular video, because it is one that I'm got to be honest with you, I'm really excited to get my hands on this title. It's getting a lot of praise. Like, it's crazy the praise that this game is getting. Like across the board, reviewers and gamers alike are like, yeah, this is a game of the year. This is definitely a game of the year entrant, or it's the game of the year winner, right? They're saying one or the other. So what I would like to do is I would like to take this opportunity to look at Clear Obscure, Atom Fall, and all these other games being in Game Pass, and then ponder upon the question, is this a case again of people overlooking what Xbox is doing as far as getting these games day and date in Game Pass, or is it a case of people capping for something happening at Xbox where it's like an element that should be praised versus the entire, you know what I'm saying? What do you call it? The entire outfit over at Xbox or Microsoft Gaming getting praised. Well, first and foremost, let's take a look at what's going on here. And again, I know this is a multi-plat, but you guys we can't overlook the fact that this game that you see on your screen is actually coming to Game Pass day and date. It's the equivalent, like just imagine if Baldur's Gate, from the reception that it's getting now, it's not as big, actually as big as Baldur's Gate as far as reception. Right now, here, let me show you this right here. Right now, it's sitting at a 92 on Metacritic, which is pretty good for particularly for an indie game. But right now, as it stands, this is 2025's Baldur's Gate, right? As far as like big reception for an RPG that really comes out of nowhere and shocks everybody, right? Like I think a lot of people was expecting Baldur's Gate to be a solid title. I didn't think they were expecting that. And I think Clear Obscure is a title maybe not as, piercing and as effective in the gaming community, but I think it's one that is in that same vein. Really comes out of nowhere, shocks a lot of people because it's turn-based RPG in a vein, you know what I mean? But it's a 92 right now, and it's coming day and date to Game Pass. So, and someone like myself, where I normally just indulge in PC Game Pass, I have Game Pass Ultimate. That gives me access to the console version, and the PC version, and the cloud access, and I got that for $8. I found that on kingun.net, and got, it was like, because what I do is I let my subscription lapse every month. I'm not paying for a particular time period where there might be games that I don't like. Now this time is a little different because again, 3 games that I'm really interested in that I didn't have to buy that normally I would have had to pay. Let's see here, $150 for. I saved myself $150, and so far I've paid probably $15 for the access to all 3 of them. And that is Clear Obscure, that is Atomfall, and that is the Oblivion remake. Now again, I am in the vein with people, and I get where people are saying, okay, MM, you're celebrating being a cheapskate. No, I'm not doing that. Hear me out. Because I am all about, now I'm gonna tell you where I would prefer to play these games. My number one place to play these, right now in the introductory phase is through Game Pass. It's through PC Game Pass, or in this case, this month, Game Pass Ultimate. I would prefer, if I'm going to make a long-term commitment to a game, I would prefer to do it first on my PlayStation 5, secondly on PC, because I don't have an Xbox. But even though I don't have an Xbox, this is a way for Xbox to still tap into me as a consumer and get at least a dime from me where they wouldn't get anything. Because if my options were you got to buy an Xbox for this, let's see here, none of the 3 games that I named were exclusive. So I would not be buying an Xbox for access to those games. So yeah, it's smart partnerships to go with Game Pass, and even smarter because they can get the dime for me. And if I'm like, you know what, I really like what I'm playing here, like in the case with Atomfall, I might just go and, I don't know if you want to call it double dip, but I might just go and buy it on the PlayStation 5. Because I do like playing on my Pro. I want to build up a library there. And more importantly, because I feel like that, even though, with the 4080 tier on GeForce Now, I'm getting 1% gaming, and I'm getting gaming that, only the top 1% PC gamers can experience. I really feel like that with the PlayStation 5 Pro as of late, the optimization that is coming to these games as of late, they're being taken more seriously. I don't know if it's because it's an added addition or next leap of the PSSR technology or PlayStation 5 Pro technology, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is, but I really feel like I want to build my library then. So if I'm going to dedicate and purchase a game, I'm most likely to purchase it for PlayStation 5. If I want to just trial the game and see what it's like, that's where PC Game Pass steps in. So you're talking about $150 worth of games that, because in this era you're really short pressed to not be able to try games like how you used to in the 360 generation. Me having access to PC Game Pass, me being able to play it on GeForce Now Ultimate, on the 4080 tier and get that great output and performance. It shows me the best of the game, and then it helps cater my decision if I want to invest in it even further. So again, that whole pool of Game Pass opening up avenues, finally with more attractive games day and date, that can't be overlooked, right? And then because of this, now you got people, you even got PlayStation fans. I've seen PlayStation fans on Twitter say, hey, look, if Xbox would have stayed in there a little bit longer and competed instead of capitulating to PlayStation, they'd be kicking their rear end in 2025. They'd be kicking their rear end in 2025. And there might be some truth to that, but it ain't happening. They capitulated. They bent the knee. But if there's one thing you haven't noticed, now some of you may have picked it up. You know what I mean? Some of you may have picked it up and said, hold on, Moss, you're doing what everybody else is doing. And what is that? That is trying to give credit to all of Xbox when really the credit and the temporary credit for now just simply goes to Game Pass. Because when you want to look at Xbox, you got to look at three things, because we can't forget that the entire gaming effort is Windows gaming. So when you look at Xbox, you got to look at it at three tiers, which the very top tier is the ecosystem. The second tier is Game Pass. And then the very third tier is, okay, what games do you get day and date that you can't get anywhere else? And I'm not just talking about Game Pass, I'm just talking about on the ecosystem altogether. So let's look at the ecosystem, which is, PC, the Xbox Windows Store, wherever Xbox Cloud is at, and the console. Okay. The Windows Store is trash. It's trash. I already talked about when I was trying to play the Oblivion remaster natively via the Windows Store because I have access to it via Game Pass Ultimate. Not a pleasant experience at all. Horrible experience. Too complicated, whatever. And it took longer. It's just not easy to interact with. Okay. And so that's plaguing the PC experience. Let's talk about the cloud experience. Look, man, I haven't had access to the cloud for a while because I made it my business about a little bit over a year ago to stop even trying to play around with xCloud. I think the last time I had access to xCloud was what do you call that game? Redfall. After I played Redfall on there, and not only is Redfall just a horrible game, but the cloud experience for me was horrible. Like, imagine going from GeForce Now to xCloud. It's like going from a T-bone steak to an old Big Mac patty that's been laying in the garbage for about 3 weeks. I mean, even though it doesn't look horrible on the outside, when you bite into it, you'll feel the disgust on the inside, right? Because, the McDonald's meat doesn't age on the outside for some reason. Preservatives. All right, but with that being said, yeah, it was a horrible experience. So now that I have Game Pass Ultimate, I booted up Atomfall on it, and not trying to be gross, but I wanted to throw up in my mouth. So xCloud isn't the greatest. Shout out to the homie Doc Dark, who's all in as someone that's really willing to game wherever he can game. But he's someone that's an advocate for cloud gaming. And you guys know that he is a big Xbox services fan. Even you go talk to Doc Dark. He has no love for xCloud. So you ain't got to take it from me. You can take it from Doc. All right. And then last but not least is Game Pass, where I feel like Game Pass is doing its thing right now, because it's giving you that value finally across the board. Because I made this big argument that a lot of people are using value across the board when it comes to Game Pass, and I argued against it, and here's why. I feel like if you're going to use the word value, it needs to be considered valuable. The games in Game Pass were not valuable. I don't care what the retail price were. If nobody wanted those games that were in Game Pass, if nobody cared to buy them a la carte or even cared to play them in a subscription service, why is the service being called valuable? It may be a bargain. You can come across the bargain bin and say, oh, this stuff normally would retail for this price and now it's severely slashed. Still doesn't make it valuable. It just makes it a bargain. You know what I mean? So I didn't consider Game Pass a value up until recently. I'm starting to see that value narrative. Look, it started back with me, as far as I'm concerned, or objectively, I think it started back with Stalker 2. Stalker 2 was my most anticipated Xbox game. And it hit day and date, and Game Pass finally came out. Now, it came out rocky, and I've personally decided to wait until it comes to PlayStation 5, and it'll probably be there by the end of this year, next year. I'd rather wait for the studio, who's, to no fault of their own, they've gone through a lot. Let them, get the time to fix all the issues with the game, and then let the better version of the game come to PlayStation. I'll play it there, right? So that's fine. But it started with Stalker 2. Stalker 2 is a solid title. It's not perfect, but it's a very solid title. Then you had Indiana Jones come out. Now, I didn't like Indiana Jones, and I feel like that a la carte Indiana Jones was overpriced. But I could see where they really, even though the gameplay mechanics and the gameplay loop was not that appealing to me, I felt like they hit a superb chord in the gameplay, not the gameplay, in the game presentation. The game presentation is like a 20 out of 10. I think it's fantastic. It's like model for the gaming industry. Fantastic. I know people were upset when there were parallels made between Indiana Jones and Naughty Dog in the Uncharted games, right? Or Naughty Dog and Last of Us. They were like, yeah, there were echoes that this was on Last of Us level. No, the entire game definitely wasn't on Last of Us level, but the narration and the game presentation was definitely superb. I think it's important to be specific there, because when you're not specific and you talk in these granular terms, and the granular terms are objectively ridiculous, people ignore what you have to say. So we got to be careful there. I would say that, as far as the gameplay presentation or the game presentation, it was on that level. I would agree with that aspect of it. So even though it was a game that I couldn't pick up and play, I appreciate that people appreciated that aspect of the game. All right, then we got Avowed. Again, I feel like another game that kind of fell into the trap with Indiana Jones. It was overpriced. It basically is a glossened up, modernized version of ESO for a single player ESO. That's what it is, which isn't a bad thing. And it looks good. It has great visuals, for what it is, essentially a AA game, but they charge $70 for it. I think that was the problem with that game, and why you kind of seen it drop off the face of the earth as far as engagement. But I feel like with these third-party games, and then even one first-party game, like with Clear Obscure, Atomfall, South of Midnight, and no, really two first-party games in this remake of Elder Scrolls. I think all of these games that really made Game Pass something that people are like, whoa, there's some very interesting titles in here. Now, me personally, South of Midnight just doesn't interest me. I saw the gameplay, wasn't wooed by the gameplay. Then people that actually, quote unquote, liked the game say, yeah, the gameplay's kind of lackluster. I'm one of those type of people. Gameplay is first and foremost for me. I'm not a big old tearjerker story guy. Oh my God, except for when it comes to an RPG. But when your gameplay loop or mechanic is underwhelming, I don't feel like I need to engage unless I'm like in a position where, all right, I need to do a review of this and I got to see this through. And so South of Midnight, with the praise that it does get for many aspects, wasn't for me, but a decent title, you know, for the price that it's at, assumingly, right? But then you get to these heavy hitters, right? I'm gonna start off with Adamfall. Adamfall, I'm telling you, man, if you fell in love with the Bethesda Fallouts because of the journey and the looting and the discovery, that essence has been extracted perfectly and put into Adamfall with a new twist to where it's really, really immersive, more immersive, I think, than anything that I've seen in a while. And I really enjoy this game. It's personally my game of the year. I know it may not be a lot of people's thing to do, shindig, but it's my personal game of the year so far. I'm loving the game. It dropping day and date in Game Pass is big for Game Pass. All right. Then you got this daggone Oblivion remaster. Was not an Oblivion fan from the original ones. I fell in love with the Elder Scrolls series when it started with Skyrim. Love Skyrim. But I was more of a Fallout guy than I was an Elder Scrolls guy, but still love Skyrim. But this one makes a version of Oblivion that is more inviting to me, and I really enjoyed it the time that I played with it. Okay. But now we got clear, obscure, that's in the must play category, right? For all intents and purposes, it might be a game of the year candidate, and that's dropping day and date in Game Pass. And again, like I said, the three that I just mentioned, that one, Adamfall, and Elder Scrolls, we're talking about games that are reasonably priced, and they're doing a lot of justice for Game Pass. So what does this mean? Notice how I said there were three tiers, right? You remember that? I said there was the console. It was, there's the console and the hardware. Then there's the stores. Then there's Game Pass. And within there, you can throw in some of the Xbox publishing games that are day and date exclusives anywhere in that fold. Nothing of the former has been the thing that just makes people go bow. Because really, the hardest hitting first party title as of late is Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. And look, and people might say, well, Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones. Can I show you guys something? Can we just shut up about this and just deal with reality? This is Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. There is currently 163,000 people in it. There was 190,000 people in it at peak 21 hours ago, right? Now y'all want to talk about let's talk about it. Hold on. They want to verify me. Okay, you can verify me all you want. Let's talk about it. What's the name of that game? Indiana Jones, right? Let's look it up. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Oh, let's look at that stats, right? They cracked 100,000, right? Yeah. Its all-time peak is 12,000. There's 405 people in the game now. Look, I get the critical praise that it got. I want to focus on the gamers right now. The gamers absolutely are looking at Elder Scrolls, which, even though it is a remake, it is properly priced and it's a lot more engaged. And that game, of course, is not day and date exclusive. It's on PlayStation as well. So really, the games that are making people jump out of their seats are not exclusive at all. So let's look at this reasonably, people. Is Game Pass cooking? Yeah, as far as the quality of product that's in there. But is Xbox cooking? Are people now flocking to the Xbox ecosystem to access these titles? Time will tell, but I'm going to say time will tell as far as if there was any bump whatsoever, but we have no indications of that. Game Pass has some quality titles, day and date titles into it, and that's great. But this is coming on the heels of Phil Spencer simply saying and admitting that Game Pass is niche. How did he do that? Because he said, hey, look, we realize that there's gamers that only buy 2 games a year. Game Pass, and I'm paraphrasing, Game Pass, it probably isn't for them. They probably just want to buy their 2 games. In other words, look, we realize we're not winning over anybody from PlayStation or Switch to come over on Xbox. Just buy the 2 games over there, all right? Or even if you're on Xbox and you haven't, if you're on Xbox and you're not subscribed to Game Pass, well, we're never gonna get you. It's all right. Just buy the 2 daggone games, right? That's on the heels of him admitting that. So again, we gotta wait and see. But yeah, Game Pass is giving up some quality content right now. And it's about daggone time. I get to keep my subscription. Maybe I'll keep it logged in for a couple of months and not let it lapse at all. You know what I mean? Because Game Pass has been around 8, 9, 10 years. During that time frame, I've never felt like keeping it back to back to back months. No, now that's different. I got 3 great titles: Clear Obscure, Atom Fall, and Oblivion. Man, I'm gonna need some months getting through these. So yeah, kudos to Game Pass for doing that. Kudos to them for doing that. But here's the dilemma. Most people are not going to expand their gaming footprint and get into the Xbox ecosystem in order to do that. Meaning they're not going to, engage with the Windows Store or engage with the console or engage with cloud in order to do that. Now they might engage with Game Pass, and that's cool for those that want to do that. But if you're sitting there with a PlayStation 5 and you don't have an Xbox, this likely might, you know what I mean, and you don't indulge in Xbox games because you don't have a PC powerful enough to do it, you're not going to the cloud. This isn't enough to get you to PC. Why? Because the games are available elsewhere. They're available on your PlayStation 5. If these games weren't available on the PlayStation 5, okay, we would have a conversation. So here's my conclusion. I am ecstatic that Xbox is adding value to my Game Pass subscription finally, to where I'm like, yeah, man, it's worth indulging in this thing, and maybe even at full price, back to back to back to back. But what does that mean for future subscribers? It's cool for existing subscribers. We're finally getting the biggest bang out of our buck. But is that enough to pull other subscribers? And if it isn't, then does that necessarily mean that it's bad for Windows gaming? Because it might be a problem for Xbox, the ecosystem. But again, Windows gaming could be just fine. Think about it. With that said, that's it from your boy. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always say, here's what I think. But if you did like what I have to say, check out the links below to follow me. They will lead you to Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage, MM2K Gaming. And if you enjoy this content, or this is your first time hearing it and you enjoyed it, here goes an opportunity for you to get access to even more content. We're going to show you how to do that now. What's up, people? I hope you're enjoying MM2K Gaming news content. you have a possibility to get access to even more great content. And I'm going to show you how very quickly. First and foremost, you're going to want to become a member. And you can become a member at 2 different levels. You can become a member at the shout out level, which is our $1.99 or $2 tier. And then you can become a member at what we call the Foamy Homie tier, which is at $3.99 or $4, depending upon where you join. So I'm going to show you how you join on YouTube. All you got to do is simply go to join right here. And then you can pick one of the 2 tiers, the foamed up or the Foamy Homie tier. And again, the Foamy Homie tier will give you access to everything. Just simply click on that and join and follow the instructions from there. And then you'll get access to our members' posts that we place over in the post section, where you'll get access to members' content Monday through Friday. All right. And then you'll get other access to streams and things like that. Now, if joining us over here is not your cup of tea, then you can become a Patreon member. Simply go look for MM2K Gaming News at Member Plus. And then what you can do is see the membership options over there. And again, we have 2 tiers. We have a tier 1 that's similar to the foamed up tier. We got another tier, tier 2 that's similar to the Foamy Homie tier. But here's the crazy thing: as you can see here, those prices are crossed out, and there's even cheaper prices. All through the month of April in 2025, we are giving people access on Patreon 50% off. So you can join us on Patreon, get 50% off your subscription and get access to the same great stuff. Another thing that you can do, another awesome perk, is when you join our Discord, which is in the description below. Join our Discord. You'll also get notifications to when all of this member content goes live. You can go to our special members only notification rooms and you'll get access to the content there. So multiple ways you can join us over at MM2K Gaming News, get access to all the great content Monday through Friday, on top of the stuff that you already enjoy. We thank you again so much for your support. And until next time, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.